Finally, the breakthrough we've been waiting for. Riccardo Calafiori's move to Arsenal is edging ever closer. While Mikel Arteta surprised everyone with a bit of a secret friendly, we've got ins, outs, and plenty more to discuss in today's Arsenal transfer show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routine. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend so far and you're ready for another relaxing Sunday. I'm working today, so no days off on a weekend for me. I'm going to be straight to it. Looking forward to some exciting stuff dropping today and covering it. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Please do drop a like on the video if you could be so kind and help us to reach 1K every single day. We're also very, very close to reaching 58,000 subs on the channel as well. So yeah, it'd be great. It'd be amazing if indeed we could do that. So help us out as best you can, and it would be greatly appreciated. So good morning to those joining us live in the chat box. Steve, Process, Vivian, Stephen. We've got Blackshine, Martin. I swear Martin and Martin, always back to back every day. Arasilki, Paul, Matt G, Clincy, other Paul. We've got Shari, we've got Brad, we've got Luke, we've got Glenn, we've got Temmie, Amesy, Carlton, Sir Nicholas, Peter, Stevie, Tabani, Roy, Mark, Kevin, and plenty more of you guys and girls as well. Thank you as always for tuning in. You are all very much appreciated. But without further ado, let's not waste any more time and jump into today's stories. We start with Arsenal's friendly yesterday against Leyton Orient. A surprise behind closed doors friendly that did indeed take place very much in secret. And the information, you can even watch the highlights, of course, on the Arsenal website, but it was a impressive performance, supposedly, and Arsenal did rather well. It was obviously League One opposition, but Arsenal played a combined youth and senior side. The team to start the game was Carl Hein, who was replaced by Lucas Nygaard, our new youth goalkeeper, on 70 minutes. Ben White at right back, who was replaced by Rosiak on 60 minutes. Jurien Timber at centre-half, who was replaced by Omar Rekic after half-time. Aidan Heaven, who was replaced by Monlouis on 60 minutes. Miles Lewis-Skelly started and was a big part of Gabriel Jesus' goal, actually, in the build-up to that. He was replaced by Nichols on 60 minutes, a very highly rated player. Thomas Partey started with Lewis-Skelly in midfield and was replaced at half-time by Charlie Patino. In attacking midfield was Martin Odegaard, replaced on 60 minutes by Gower. The front three was, rather front four, if you like, Reiss Nelson on the, I assume the left hand. I think he might have been playing on the kind of this kind of floating role from the looks of things. You had Nelson, you had Vieira, you had Jesus, and you had Nketiah as your front four. Nwaneri came on in the 60th minute. Smith Rowe came on for Vieira. Interesting that Smith Rowe was a sub rather than a starter, especially considering that Nelson and Nketiah are also being heavily linked with moves away. So I don't know if there's something to read into that. Jesus was replaced by Salou Hand, and Nketiah was replaced by Sago Jr. Rojas, Kukuri, and Ismail Ul-Adamham were unused substitutes on the day. But goals from Jesus and Smith Rowe got the job done as Arsenal kicked off their pre-season preparations from a senior perspective. The club will be leaving for America today. They'll be flying out, and there should be some interesting inclusions on the list, which will bring you on football.london, of course, later on this afternoon. Nketiah has been subject to a proposal now from Marseille. This is very much moving forwards, it seems, and Marseille are still, despite signing Mason Greenwood, very keen on signing Nketiah for the brand new Liga season. They, of course, have been greenlit the exit of Aubameyang, who is going to Saudi Arabia, we believe. But Eddie Nketiah could be on his way to Marseille if indeed the French club matched the Arsenal expectation regarding a price tag. As I've mentioned before, anywhere from £25 million upwards, I think, would represent really good business for Arsenal. So let's see what happens regarding Arsenal's number 14. Reiss Nelson, West Ham, we know of their interest. The ex-West Ham United employee, Patreon, has revealed yesterday that West Ham's keenness is for an initial loan with an option to buy, but Arsenal want a permanent sale. A £50 million minimum fee has been discussed. And again, Arsenal will hope to get as maximum value as they can get from Nelson. If you can get 40 million quid for Nketiah and Nelson, I think Arsenal have done, of course, very well in that regard. So let's keep the fingers crossed indeed that does turn out to be the case and we get as much money in for them. Inter Milan are considering a move for Jakub Kiwior. Italian sources, of course, have already confirmed plenty of interest from other Italian sides, such as AC Milan, such as Juve, Napoli, and even Bologna themselves as well, keen on Calafiori. Talk about him in a minute. Kiwior, but there is no kind of standout option, it seems. There's no leading figure in this front or on this front at all so far, and we don't know where Kiwior might end up. We don't know if he's still going to stay, but of course that move could be affected by a potential incoming, which we'll talk about in a very short amount of time. But just before that, some news that broke from Alan Nixon and his Patreon, of course, reporting that Arsenal have now submitted a second bid for Dan Bentley, the Wolves goalkeeper. The 30-year-old player is expected to be Arsenal's kind of third choice, if you like, in replacing, well, I suppose the depth that's in the squad with Carl Hine expected to leave on loan, and they want an experienced goalkeeper figure in the team, and apparently he's really good in the dressing room, and he would be very cheap. That bid is said to be of £300,000. Wolves are said to want something like £1 million, but there's said to be a compromise that is getting closer to being reached between the two sides, which is obviously very good indeed. And the headline story, and the one that I know a lot of fans have been waiting for, Arsenal have reached an agreement with Bologna and are closing in on a 33.7 million plus 4.2 million pound in add-ons deal for Riccardo Calafiori, which is obviously the big breakthrough that we have wanted. We have wanted this news. We have wanted this story for quite some time. Fans have been frustrated. Fans have been and had to be patient with this story. But good news is it does indeed seem like this is going to be happening and that Calafiori will be making that switch to Arsenal, which is obviously very, very good indeed. And I really can't wait to see Calafiori in an Arsenal shirt, to see what he can produce, how indeed his kind of style on the team impacts things moving forwards, how many minutes he's obviously going to get as well. There's loads that can still happen in this Arsenal team, and loads that can change with the addition of different types of talents. And I would love to see him giving opportunities in that left back position, but also the opportunity to maybe play as a rotational figure at left-sided centre half as well. So Calafiori closing in on this Arsenal move, really good news, and one, of course, that Arsenal fans will hope to see on the tour as well when this deal is confirmed. Right, let's go to part two and your questions, shall we? Right after this. Okay, this is part two of the show, of course, where we tackle your questions and more. If you've got any thoughts, queries, and questions that you would like to propose, put them into the chat box with a capital Q. It does help them stand out. Before we move on any further, though, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. There's over 100 of you listening on social media as well. I always implore you, if you are listening on social media, hop over to YouTube. It gives you access to our chat box so you can ask questions and get involved in the discussion as well. But thank you to those, of course, all tuning in live on YouTube and those that are catching up a little bit later on in the day. But let's jump to the chat box, shall we, and tackle some of your thoughts on the things that we've discussed already this morning as well, and some of the new things that maybe you think we need to be talking about. Cessan says, good morning, Tom. I think selling Kiwior might be a mistake because he will be a good cover for Gabriel and he is a good squad player as well. Of course, it's worth pointing out that Calafiori can play as a left-sided centre-half, so it's basically Kiwior out and Calafiori in, and Calafiori is considered and he's more appreciated than Kiwior is, so you are getting what is on paper at least a better player through the door while Kiwior is replaced. So I think that I agree that it's harsh on Kiwior, and I like Kiwior. I think he offers plenty of quality and option and depth in the defence. But if it is a case of one in, one out, Arsenal are moving forwards in the deal that they've been able to bring in for Calafiori. Jalali says Timber's position in the game yesterday was interesting. Didn't see him at fullback at all during the match. Do you think that's a sign of things to come? Not necessarily. Of course, it's worth pointing out that both Saliba and Gabriel are not yet back with the squad. So they had to make do with the players, of course, that were available. They played Aiden Heaven alongside Timber in the two centre-half positions. It could have been interesting to see Ben White play there, but I think Ben White's position seems to be very much as a right-back these days. He's converted entirely. I think there's still scope to see Ben White play in the middle, and he certainly can play in the middle, but his style has changed so much to play as a right-back that I think that's probably where we will see him moving forwards. AFC always says, Tom, does the new Arsenal away top smell like the Lynx Africa kit? I mean, I've had my fair share of Lynx Africa gifted to me on many a Christmas morning, and it doesn't. I was expecting it. I thought it might come with a little tinge of Lynx Africa, but no, it's a very, very nice kit, actually. It is much better when you get it in the flesh, I found, rather than seeing it online. And it's grown on me a hell of a lot, and now it's adorned on me as well instead. Stephen says, do we be concerned about the lack of links to strikers? Will they sign one? Stephen, I wouldn't get your hopes up of Arsenal signing a striker. I've been saying this for a fair few weeks now. Arsenal's position on the centre-forward position has changed over the course of the last couple of months and more than the last couple of months and the end of last season because of the form of Kai Havertz in that position. And other areas have taken a greater priority, such as midfield defence and a wide area position reinforcement as well. So I'd be surprised if Arsenal went for a striker. I think the next big signing you'll probably potentially see is a midfielder after Calafiori. That would be my estimation. There's links, of course, to Mikel Merino, and there is going to be other players, of course, that Arsenal are going to be looking at as well. And you never know. Maybe a surprise can be pulled out the bag this window. Steffian says, question, hi, Tom. I hope you're well and the black new away kit suits you. Thank you, mate. Do you think it's worth getting another centre-half or left-back if we do get rid of Kiwior? Zinchenko is a little shaky when it comes to defence. I've been a very much a proposer of the 8 defenders. So you've got Ben White and Tomiyasu and Timber. You've got Saliba and Gabriel and Kiwior. And you've got Zinchenko and I suppose Calafiori as well, adding to that coming in. But if indeed we do sell Kiwior, we go back down to 7. Now, you could argue that Aiden Heaven, who is very highly appreciated in the Arsenal team, could be a defender that begins to get some opportunity at senior level. We're going to have to wait and see. But he is highly rated as Aiden Heaven, going through the youth ranks. So it might be that they see him as a potential option. And Vegas going to point out, where was Tomiyasu? Because he wasn't obviously involved in yesterday's game. Is he injured? I've heard nothing to suggest that he is injured, and there is expectations he'll obviously go off on the tour with the team. Maybe that's something we'll have to have a little bit of a look into. Cal says, Tom, I was having a chat with a friend yesterday about our academy, and a question about our coaches' competency was raised. Do you think that we should upgrade our coaches in the academy? I don't think that's necessary. I mean, Arsenal have changed their coaches recently. Arsenal finished in a very decent position in the under-21s last season. Jack Wilshere's doing a very good job. The club, are very confident in the job that Jack's doing with the under-18s as well. So I don't necessarily think that is the area that I'd look at and go, that's why the academy is not necessarily producing the talents that we want. I think it's actually to do with more so the recruitment side of things. And of course, we've got to look a little bit harder maybe at the loan track to a degree. I think it does get overhyped and overblown, certainly, but I think there's still plenty of confidence in the coaches that are at this under-21 level. But maybe Mehmet Ali is in something of a bit of a pressure season this year. Maybe indeed he has to deliver something even more than we've seen before, especially with the extra recruitment and investment that's going into the academy this summer. Dancing Bear says, Neto, we spoke on Twitter about Arsenal's plan. Do you think that we go for Neto? Seems Williams is unlikely. I think that Neto is obviously a player that Arsenal have always had an appreciation for. Williams, of course, has got a preference himself of Barcelona, so it seems that deal would be unlikely. There are reports suggesting that Neto might be available for £50 million. If so, I think that's a reasonable price tag for Neto, but the injuries, of course, are always an issue when it comes to Neto. So that's one that we have to be conscious about and cautious somewhat about as well. So, but yeah, there's definitely scope for that to be something we might look at as well. Johan says it's a black kit, so Tom was all over it. Indeed, it is. I do enjoy a black football kit. It's always certainly something that I hope Arsenal invest in, and we've seen one this year. Andrew says, "I love how we're starting to care about sell-on clauses now. Are we fans or directors of football nowadays? Arsenal have used sell-on clauses for a long time. This isn't really necessarily a new thing at all. We saw it implemented in Guendouzi's contract when he moved to Marseille. And of course, we benefited from his sale to Lazio. We got money from that deal. Mavropanos, when we sold him to Stuttgart, had a sell-on clause in that deal. So we benefited when he moved to West Ham. We do and have put sell-on clauses in plenty of our players' contracts. And we are doing it this summer. Lokonga, should that option become activated at Sevilla, there's a sell-on clause in that deal as well. Nuno Tavares, I'm told reliably, has a in excess of 25% sell-on clause in his Lazio obligatory purchase clause from that loan as well. So there is a much bigger effort to do it, but it is something that Arsenal have always done as well. Jabu says, for us non-UK fans, please explain Lynx Africa and its apparent cultural significance. I don't know. I don't think you can describe it and go as deep as saying there's a cultural significance to Lynx Africa, but it's just a classic. It's a bit of a meme at this point in time. Everyone, pretty much every, young person at some stage was gifted a Lynx Africa in their Christmas stocking. It was just kind of the rhetoric of teenagers in the 2010s when I was at school, and the late noughties as well. Lynx Africa was just always that Christmas gift for any teenager, and obviously my generation as well. So yeah, it's it's just been an absolute mainstay of many a teenager's wash drawer, I suppose. So yeah, it's just one of those things that just stuck in the minds of a lot of UK young people. I don't know. I'm saying young person because it was always part of my young life, and everyone having a Lynx Africa in their wash bag. But maybe I'm being too insular, and maybe it goes beyond that as well. Lee says, do you think, in brackets, not prefer the Havertz midfield experiment is over? I think we'll see it again. I think we'll definitely see it again. I think that Havertz's versatility is something that Arteta enjoys, and we will see Havertz utilised in a midfield position or an attacking midfield role at some stage, maybe as a substitute at times, maybe as Jesus' form improves. I think we will see it. But he is seen as very much a centre forward as a priority, it seems, right now, and that's it. Pedro says, is it me or did the stream just start for the beginning? Not for anyone else, Pedro. I'm not hearing anything else suggest that. Just you, it seems. Gunny says, the kit looks terrible this season. Hopefully the third kit looks good. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I like both of them personally. Massibulele says, hey, Tom, do you think that we need to do a Tommy Setford kind of signing for the striker position if indeed Obi Martin leaves? I think Arsenal will be on the lookout, perhaps for a younger centre forward as well. Obi Martin, of course, who is... It just seems seemingly on his way out of the club now. It's practically, it seems practically that is going to be the case. So maybe they will start to look at some younger centre forwards as well. We talked in depth yesterday about Chido Martin. We did a big phone-in show in the morning on it. So if you want to get my thoughts on the Obi Martin situation and the thoughts of plenty of our callers, go back and catch up on yesterday's extra long morning show. CM Jose says, I was born in the 80s and it was a staple at Christmas and birthdays as well. So not keen on newer scents. Now a father of teenagers and have bought them some Lynx Africa as well. So clearly it goes way further back than my conscious childhood can remember as well. John says, apparently Man United are in for Zubimendi. Man United are going big this window. I think it's worth pointing out that Man United are being used quite a lot as a kind of a bit of a stick to beat Arsenal with. It should be pointed out, quite comfortably and simply that Man United's squad finished in its worst ever Premier League position ever. Like there has never been a worse Premier League position last season where they finished 8th compared to any previous campaign. They need to do a lot more work than Arsenal do on their squad. It's much, much easier to improve the Manchester United squads than it is, of course, our own. So it's worth pointing that out when you start seeing people getting carried away at what Man United are doing during this window. Because it just, if you're getting jealous of Man United, I struggle to get on the same page as yourselves. Adam says, with the new kit out, have you been through the other Premier League kits? Any honourable mentions that you like and dislike? I hate the new Chelsea home kit. The new Chelsea home kit is awful. I can't say I've seen them. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Premier League 2024-25 home new kits. Premier League kits revealed for the 24-25 season. I'll share my screen and we can go through them together, shall we? Share, not slides, share screen kits. Here we go. Premier League website. So obviously we know the Arsenal kits at this stage. But yes, so we are expecting kind of a Microsoft screensaver, if you will, of our third kit that is expected to come out. Brighton's home kit, that's quite nice. Do quite like that. The away kit haven't been released yet. Chelsea's is horrible. I mean, they're using the lighting here to try and make it look better. But the Chelsea kit is just dreadful. Really, really bad. I mean, look how much glare they're using. And like Cole Palmer's doing his little celebration to kind of cover up as much of it as he feasibly can. Crystal Palace's kit is nice. Well modelled there by Eze. I don't really like the away kit. I know yellow and blue is very Arsenal, but it's just the accents on it. I don't quite like the different shades. If it was just that plain yellow, or maybe like the accents were slightly different, I would. But I don't like the accents on that. Their third kit is not yet out. Everton's kit, I quite like that. I quite like the Everton kit. That's quite nice. It's better than the Chelsea take on that. Their away kit not yet out. Fulham always have pretty clean kits. Do Fulham, to be fair. Although I don't really like the red bits down the. I don't really like the red trim in that area, to be honest. Ipswich, standard, pretty standard kit. That all the away kit's very nice. That's very nice. I do like that kit. Very, very. I like it's what, maroon? Would you describe it as? I suppose. Yeah, I do quite like the away kit. Very nice indeed. Leicester City, very standard Leicester kit. That it's usually the away kits you look at other teams. Haven't seen the away kit for Leicester yet. Liverpool's kit, it's a bit busy. I don't like these collars. They're massive. Anyone with me on this? The Liverpool kit collars look absolutely huge. So I'm not keen on that at all. And it's very busy. Like you got like the horizontal lines and all of a sudden they like cross over. Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of that. The third kit's not out yet at the moment, it seems. City, I do quite like City's kit. I'll be very honest, I do quite like that. City do always usually have some decent kits, which is a surprise because it's Puma as well. We never really did good kits for us. Man United's kit's quite nice. It's Adidas, so you wouldn't expect too much else. So yeah, the Man United kit's quite nice. Newcastle's kit also Adidas now as well. Standard Newcastle kit. Haven't got too many words about that. Forest again, another Adidas, very standard. Nottingham Forest kit, no away kit so far there. Southampton, very standard Southampton kit as well. Again, I'm not a fan of this yellow away shirt with these accents. Not a fan of that at all, to be fair. Spurs, I mean, it's terrible. Don't think I have anything else to say other than just awful. I mean, the sleeves are too big, and then they carry on down the side. What's that about? Terrible. West Ham, it's a nice kit. Do like the West Ham kit. It's very retro, so I do quite like that. Very nice one indeed. The burgundy with the light blue home kit. If you're listening, by the way, on audio, I assume this isn't the best listening experience. So if you want to go onto the Premier League website, you can go through this with while you're listening to this. That might be the best thing to do. Away kit, that's quite nice. But as I say, I'm very partial to a black kit. So yeah, there you go. And the Wolves kit, yeah, also quite like that Wolves kit. Very clean, fresh. So there you go. That's all of the season kits and my thoughts. Some aren't out yet at the moment, but yeah, I think there's a good roster of kits this year, to be fair, and there's not too many bad ones. But Chelsea and Spurs, in particular, very, very poor kits. Very, very poor kits. Maggie says, why do the players all look so miserable? The photographers tell them to smile. Yeah, photographers usually tell them to kind of just look serious, look down the camera, you know, look nonchalant, if you like, but they always end up looking a little bit yeah, not great. So Nicholas says, Tom, why do you hate collars so much? You've mentioned it numerous times. I'm just not a fan of collars. I don't mind it on a shirt, like a work shirt or like a long sleeve button shirt, but I'm not a big fan of polos. I don't tend to wear polos other than for golf. That's because it's really golf attire, and even then, I'm not too big of a fan of it. But yeah, I'm not a fan of collars. I'm really not. Other than them on, as I say, button shirts. That's the only time I'm a fan of them. But otherwise, I don't really like polos. Polo is just not my thing. Yeah, so not a fan. Not a fan of collars. Just not me, I'm afraid. Rob says, if Smith Rowe, Eddie or Nelson play blinders in pre-season, do you think A, they could play themselves back into contention, and 2, the team and squad, or B, increase their market value, or C, get other bidders in. D makes a difference. I think it'd be a bit naive and ignorant to say that it makes no difference. I just feel as though the decisions have probably been made on players at the moment. The only players that maybe are going to make the most difference to their chances are going to be the youth players. I think that's maybe the players in terms of performance that could make a real difference. So that's certainly one to consider. Yes, Aaron, collars are horrendous. I agree. Idan says, I think that Arteta doesn't actually want to sell Smith Rowe. Despite the links, we will keep him for the upcoming season. I have a suspicion that you might be right. I think that Arteta likes Smith Rowe a lot, but just can't find a way of fitting him into the system and the philosophy that he wants to play. So I actually do think there's some credence to what you're saying there. I don't think that Arsenal necessarily want to let Smith Rowe go. I think they're really regrettably letting him go. But if he can't get the minutes and his preference is to leave and Arsenal get some really good money for him, then it has to be done. Paul says football shirts should not have collars, and he's absolutely right. I think collars is obviously quite a retro thing. Obviously, shirts back in the day, football shirts back in the day, I think used to be a bit of a staple, really, that the football shirts would have collars. So I think it's a bit of a throwback type thing. John says you have to wear a polo with a collar when playing golf. Yeah, most courses, yes. Sometimes I can get away with it but often you do get picked up on it if you don't wear a collar on the golf course. Space Time says Arteta is being toxic if he doesn't sell Smith Rowe. If we keep him, he better play. No excuses. I don't think it's a case of being toxic. I don't think that's the right word at all. I think it's far too harsh. But what I would say is that I think if we do keep Smith Rowe and he's not used, obviously that will be scrutinised. But he is still a very good talent, and it will be regrettable that we do let him leave, I believe. Nick says, hey, Tom, do you think that we should use Smith Rowe at left centre mid? His link-ups, driving ability with the ball and goal-scoring ability and potential. I don't see anyone better on the market, so we should just keep him. I do see plenty of quality midfielders, to be fair, in terms of like that area. Eze is a big one for me. Dani Olmo is another one. I like Mikel Moreno as well a lot, we are being linked to, of course, too. And you never know. You could see a surprise one come out the woodwork as well this window that we're not necessarily talking about. So I do think there are options. I do rate Eze higher than Smith Rowe. But he, for his own career, Smith Rowe, I think, needs to move on. If I was Smith Rowe, I would be minded to leave, even with my own Arsenal allegiances, because you need to put your career and yourself first in these situations. And moving to a Fulham, moving to a Crystal Palace, Palace in particular have done really good things with young attacking players. You think about Elise, you think about Eze. These players have really come on and developed there. So I think that would be a good place for Smith Rowe to go. Fulham equally, as well, have had, some decent success since returning to the Premier League. Iwobi, I think, has found his feet again after moving there from Everton. So he's got a friend there in Iwobi, of course. Willian, he'll know from his time playing together as well. So there are familiar faces at Fulham. And Leno, of course, another one. So maybe there are reasons for both teams where he could move, and they're both in London, where he does, it seems, want to remain. He wants to remain in London. Nelson says, okay, guys, Smith Rowe is great, but I think that we are overhyping him a bit. No better player on the market. That's a huge stretch, and I do tend to agree with Nelson. Angela says, keeping Smith Rowe but not playing him makes no point for the club or Smith Rowe himself. Absolutely. Yash says, will Calafiori benefit from Martinelli or similar to why? I think Martinelli may benefit from Calafiori, Yash, to be honest. I think it's more the other way around. I think that I was having a good chat yesterday. I think it was Paddy on Twitter that was replying and saying about, the left-hand side being a bit of an issue. And I said, obviously, Martinelli's form's dropped off. But Trossard was our second best goal scorer last season and is probably our best finisher. But I think that Martinelli may find better form with a progressive player like Calafiori with him, instead of a Kiwior or a Zinchenko. And I know Zinchenko's progressive, but he's more internal. Whereas Calafiori, I hope, would be more supportive of his left winger than Zinchenko is. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing any partnerships that could arise from Calafiori's integration into the squad. And Clint says, Tom, have you heard the new Calafiori chant, which is a spin on the Italian song That's Amore in terms of Calafiori? It does seem to work. I do quite like that. Kieran says, a lot of Arsenal fans want a superstar, a world-class signing for midfield, but are there actually any on the market? Kimmich feels like City-bound, and basically everyone else apart from us feels like a bit of a hope. Of course, Bruno Guimaraes does come to mind, but will Newcastle sell? It's unlikely. Do they need to sell? It doesn't seem that they do. he would need to really push for the move, I think, for that to happen. But the release clause is now expired, and Newcastle pretty much asked for whatever they want. But let's wait and see. I'm going to bring us to a close there. We did go for an hour and a half yesterday, so I think you can forgive me for just a half hour on today's show. But thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I really do appreciate all of your support and kind words every single day. Please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. If you're listening on Catch Up, thank you so much. There's nearly 1,000 of you listening on YouTube and well over 300 of you listening on social media. As I say, if you are listening on social media, make sure you hop over to YouTube and watch in the future. It helps us out far more if you listen over here. And of course, you can then get involved in the chat box and ask questions in the part 2 of the show. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early, of course, as always, at 8 a.m, rounding up any of today's stories. I expect there to be some interesting news, so make sure you watch out for that. And enjoy your day. Speak well. Speak well. Speak soon. I mean, we can speak well as well, but speak soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.